All right, wrist lockers. If you're really
All right.
upset, find someone to teach you how to write, and you can send me an email about why you think wrist locks are better than
Uh,
leg locks.
uh, uh.
Smash the dislike button. This is Justin Lesko, Brazilian Jiu Jitsu brown belt and former pro MMA fighter.
And I'm Mike Callahan, Brazilian Jiu Jitsu brown belt and a law enforcement officer.
Welcome to That Jiu Jitsu podcast. You had texted me a couple times about like training this week, so it made me start to think about what it's gonna be like in that first full class back. In it, like obviously, again, we're not going down coronavirus wormhole again, and obviously it's probably not gonna be a packed house right away as soon as gyms open, but it's gonna be weird almost to be in a room with like 30 people and just training. Like it's gonna feel strange.
I don't think that some of these businesses are going to be out of the woods either, because it's not like you're going to start back up with the full clientele that you had when you stopped operating.
Yeah. Well, if you have the means, and obviously I know not everyone has the means, and obviously I know a lot of people have lost their jobs and a lot of people have gone through financial hardship. If your gym opens back up, even if you don't feel comfortable training, if you can, pay your monthly membership. If you want to have a gym to come back to, continue to pay your monthly membership if you can.
At the same time, there's a lot of gyms who you see were doing the right thing during this quarantine, that were shutting down and suspended payments. And
It's like Kent told us, he right away stopped charging people. And I think everyone should always act in a way that is best for everyone. And the right thing for gym owners to do was to stop charging people as soon as they couldn't have classes.
Not everybody.
I think
But
on
not everybody did that.
yeah,
Not everybody
so
did that.
I guess I'm looking at this from the perspective of a person who trains at a gym who did the right thing, and I care about my gym a lot and I want them to still be able to be there. So if I'm in a position where I can pay the monthly dues, even if I don't feel like I can train, then I think that's the right thing to do. Like support your local businesses, support your local gym.
Absolutely. If you have the means, there's something to be said too about the gym owners. Kent touched on it. Gym owners who were shutting down, but there were still a few members who weren't even training, who weren't able to train, but had the means and took it upon themselves to continue paying. Like it's not expected, obviously, but that's a stand-up thing to do. But like you said, you want to have somewhere to go back to. At the same time, the other thing to look at too is maybe these people aren't comfortable yet because we're anticipating a second wave of this. I don't know. But I don't think anybody should feel rushed back into training just because the gym's opening back up.
But I'm happy to see that things are starting to open up, because I'm starting to feel like the withdrawal and the FOMO, like when my arm was broken and I couldn't train for a long time, like that's the way I'm starting to feel now about everything.
Well, I don't think that everybody knows about that, but that was years ago, right? It was during the
Yeah, we're actually coming up on the anniversary. So I'll just tell everyone in case anyone is not familiar with what happened to my arm. But in August 2016, I had a pro MMA fight, and within like the first 10 seconds of the fight, the dude threw a head kick at me, and I blocked it, and he just happened to kick the exact right spot in the exact right way with the exact right part of his shin, and it broke my arm. It broke the ulnar on the outside. I tried to keep fighting. I tried to take the kid down. I realized right away my arm was broken, and basically I couldn't do anything, and I lost the fight. So I had surgery, like no big deal, have surgery on my arm, and then it just wouldn't heal. I kept going back to the doctor for checkups, and they would x-ray it and it never fused back together. So I saw a different doctor like 6 months later, and I went in to have surgery to try to do a little bit of a different repair, and then when they opened me up, they found all of this bone infection in my arm. So they cleaned all that out, and then they just sewed me back up, and I waited like a week, and I went back and had a third surgery for them to now try to fix the arm. So they put a bunch of plates and shit in there again, And then same sort of thing for the next couple months. It just wouldn't heal, wouldn't heal, wouldn't heal. I had infections in there. They couldn't determine what the infection was. I was like in the hospital, I think 2 times that weren't surgery related, that were just, I'm sick and have to go to the hospital. Eventually in June, so almost a full year after the first surgery, they basically just took all the hardware out so that the hardware made a higher risk of infection. So the goal was to try to heal the infection. So yeah, so I have a non-union fracture in my arm. It never healed. It probably never will heal, and it hurts sometimes, but I still train. So it was like, more than a year, year and a half between a guy tried to kick me in the head and I was able to actually roll again. And we're only like 3 or 4 months into not being able to roll right now, but like I can feel that sort of, I have to do something. I need to do something. I have to do something. Like, this is awful. I got to get out. I need a release of all this pent up energy. And
Yeah, it's like
I just need to roll again.
It's like confinement. So a couple points to make based on that story is, one, you continued to come to class throughout.
Yeah, I would do my best to come and like have an excuse to put a gi on and not do anything,
Right.
and sit along the wall and watch Brian teach and watch you guys roll. And nobody passed my guard for like a year and a half.
Well, again, here we go with the whole thing about how, who was it? John Jones?
Yeah.
Yeah. Or no, not John Jones.
It was
It's
Gilbert Burns.
Gilbert Burns. Nobody passed your guard because you weren't actually
Yeah.
training with anybody. But we'll agree to disagree there.
I haven't had an X-ray since like 2018, so it could have healed
Right.
in that time, but there's no reason to believe that it did, and it doesn't
Right.
change. So basically, when you have an injury where you can get back to your real life, like you can
Right.
go to work, you can feed yourself, you can do all of the things that aren't sports related, that's good enough for doctors. So for me to be like, hey, can you guys keep trying to fix this? They
Right.
basically they were like, if we keep trying to fix it, there's more chance you get an infection, which could kill you. So you can do everything that you need to do, so we're not going to try to fix it.
Right.
And that is kind of a bummer.
So then a year and a half later, he comes back, and I remember the first time he rolled, it was with your boy, and normally a good friend would go, take into consideration the fact that, hey, he has 3 limbs that function as they should, and then a fourth which may or may
kind of
still
there.
not be non-functioning. He hasn't trained over a year, and your friend, so you want to kind of ease him back into it. Yeah, no,
This is not what
that's not it,
happened.
right? Because number one, mama ain't raised no bitch. Okay, so it was balls to the wall, and I don't think anybody in that room really took it easy on him. But before you know it, his cardio was back to where it was before, and he was running circles around everybody.
Do you know one of the worst parts about that whole experience was when they wheel me upstairs? I think my arm is fixed. I was supposed to go home that day. And then I get into my actual hospital room, and Amanda Jean, my wife, was like, had to break the news to me that my arm wasn't fixed, that it was still not attached. And they had done a thing called a nerve block where they blocked the nerve, which is why that's a good name procedure.
Pretty self-explanatory, but thanks for the explanation.
So my arm's completely numb. So it's in a sling. So I get up to go to the bathroom at one point, and my arm like bumps into me, and I'm not looking, and I didn't know it was my own arm. Like, your arm is just not attached, is what it feels like. So I go to the bathroom, and I slowly can wiggle like my 2 fingers, and I'm like, okay, the nerve block's wearing off. Well, I had 0 pain medication because my arm was completely numb. So from the time that I wiggled my fingers for the first time to the time where the nerve block had completely worn off and I was in excruciating pain was like less than 15 minutes. And it felt like someone had a blowtorch under my skin, just firing away. And it took probably like an hour, hour and a half to like catch up with the pain medicine. So I didn't feel like, just chop it off, just get this thing out of here, I'm ready for it to be gone. And they kept calling for more medicine. So the nurse would call the doctor on call because it's like midnight now. Like, hey, he's like freaking out. I'll give him like 2 pills and wait 10 minutes. And like, that doesn't work. Yeah, all right, give him like a shot of the morphine. Like that doesn't work. Like it was probably an hour of just pure misery, agony. But then like a year after that, I was able to roll again. So
I mean, I guess the story has a happy ending. The last time I was under anesthesia, I had gotten an endoscopy. So bizarre, but when I came out of the endoscopy, my wife said that apparently I just woke up. This is what they told her. I just woke up from it, and I was like, "Up, I'm out of here," and I just started taking everything off, all the leads, everything, and I was on my way out, and um, they came to sedate me, and then a little while later, I made my official exit.
your second exit.
I made my official exit.
I would just like to reiterate that just because you think that you might never, ever, ever get to do jujitsu again because of what is literally a catastrophic injury, you can find a way to do it.
At the end of the day, where there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah.
You don't just because you get injured or
Just because you get injured, yeah, if you have a catastrophic injury, you might not be able to go to the world championships and win a gold medal, but you can still show up to your local club and find a way to train. And
Yep.
if you're listening to this and you don't know if you should go train because you have some sort of physical limitation, like just fucking go and figure it out.
figure it
And
out.
you'll
Yep.
make it work. You'll make it work.
Yeah. You can modify your training regimen. You can modify the rounds. Whatever you need to do,
Yeah.
you can get through it.
And then when you get back, you can learn all about the wonderful dark arts of leg locks. And this is a beautiful transition to our main topic of the day. Who's worse, leg lockers or wrist lockers?
You're perfecting the art of the segue.
I'm going to get 2 t-shirts. One's going to say, I bet he can't pass my guard. And the other one is going to say, King of Segways.
I feel like wrist lockers are like if you're rolling with the wrist locker, it's like all they're gonna fucking throw at you, right?
I feel like, so this is what I think. If you follow me on social media, you know that the leg lock game is a large part of my game, so this may be slightly biased. I think that a leg lock and a leg locker is an apex predator, like a wolf or a lion who sets traps and hunts their prey. And a wrist locker is just like a little buzzer who just like finds it and eats it. Like they don't set it up, they just happen to come across a carcass and pick it clean. Oh, I happen to see a wrist and take it. There's no setup, there's no art to the wrist lock. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you can go ahead and smash the dislike button because I'm sure I've offended half the people who listen to our show. But
I disagree with certain points of that. I think that there's a lot more skill that goes into the overall leg lock game. I think that there's a lot more body positioning, and at the same time, there are some devastating fucking wrist locks out there.
I'm not saying that the
No,
technique itself isn't devastating. I'm just saying it takes a lot less skill to do.
Well, I mean, the argument you're going to get from the wrists or from the leg lockers is that there's the foot, the ankle, the knee, and if you're going for heel hooks, you're essentially isolating a whole leg, which is a little bit more difficult than isolating an entire arm.
Okay, that's a
Um,
fair point. I take that point.
you know, but at the same time, I just think that I don't even know what to say. Like they're fucking devastating. Like, but the people who, if you're dealing with somebody who's a wrist locker, my experience has been these guys are going to throw these fucking wrist locks at you for the duration of a match.
Correct.
You know what I mean? Like from every single fucking position, standing in your guard, in their guard. It's you're going to be dealing with it.
And do you want to know the real reason why I look down on wrist lockers? Is because the rest of the jiu-jitsu world looks down on leg lockers, so I like to have someone one level below me who I can also look down on as a whole population.
Right. Okay. So they're below you on the food chain.
Yes. Smash the
So,
dislike button.
so Brad Court from Paramount.
Yeah.
I think they're a tag team school. He's one of those guys. He's a fucking. Some of the techniques that he throws up on YouTube for wrist locks are fucking gnarly. He's got some serious wrist locks. Brian White was supposed to fight him. It's like the sixth fucking time I'm mentioning Brian White's name. Brian White was supposed to fight him in a fight to win a couple years ago.
Yeah.
I think it
fell a couple times, right? Like once or twice they're supposed to fight.
But Brad Court is a legit high level grappler, and from the looks of it, some of the videos that I've seen on his wrist locks are they're gnarly.
I'm saying this like half kidding. Like I know like
legit
guys.
Okay, now because
Brad
the
Court
guy's
come
name.
at
me. That's great.
Now I'm thinking back about how all the people aren't going to listen to our show anymore. So like, all right, wrist lockers, if you're really upset, find someone to teach you how to write, and you can send me an email about why you think wrist locks are better than leg locks.
You're fucking terrible.
I know.
The wrist lockers are going to be like, the fucking one-armed guy is talking shit. Like, we can't even wrist lock you. The surgeon wrist locked you twice, and you just got back to training.
Yeah, maybe. All right, if you're listening to this and you disagree with me and you want to roll with me, it's my left arm that's messed up, and you can go for all the wrist locks you want. And if you catch me in one, I'll issue an official. What's the word?
Apology.
No. I'll issue an official retraction. I'll come on. If someone catches me with a wrist lock in a tournament or in a professional match, I will come back on and I will tell you that I think wrist locks are great.
I will spend 9 hours in a YouTube wormhole on wrist locks today.
I'm just saying I've never been tapped by a wrist lock, and I've been tapped by plenty of leg locks.
I like it.
Did you watch the Max Rock Shop fight where Robert Drysdale was not letting him call the fight?
Yeah, it was like 9, right? Like 9 different times.
9.
If anybody's ever
times.
If anyone's ever watched Ferris Bueller's Day Off, 9 times.
It was wild, man. So I watched the corner audio, and at first I'm like, okay, the dude just needs like a boost. Right. He needs just like some motivation, like get going. But after like time 4 or 5, maybe you should start to think, all right, he's just doesn't have it. And then once you cross over into like a person just doesn't want to fight anymore, don't keep the fight going.
Right. You could tell like Drysdale, his mindset totally shifted during that interaction. The first couple of times he was like, you can do this. And then after the 4th or 5th time, it switched to he knew that this guy was beat. Like he knew that Max was out of it. And I guess he thought he was doing his due diligence, but it was a difficult call to make.
It's a difficult call to make, but also you can will a fighter in the short term to, if they're tired, get a boost. You can motivate them in the short term to drive some adrenaline, get them fired back up to go back out there. You can't motivate a fighter to want to fight. There's a difference between not having enough gas in the tank to keep going and not wanting to be in the fight. And as a corner, you should be able to know which situation is happening.
After the fight, Dominic Cruz was talking about it too. That kid was only 5-0. He only had 5 fights, and he took it on.
And he came in on like a 1 week notice.
It was 5 days.
He's like 25 years old. Yeah.
So
crazy.
Dominic Cruz was questioning whether or not this kid had ever been put through the level of adversity that he had faced in that fight. Because he's a really good wrestler, and just to have, your wrestling shut down over and over and over again.
Yeah, he had one shot to win the fight. He was getting beat up on the feet. The wrestling wasn't there. You know how fucking tiring it is to try to shoot a double when you're already exhausted. You're gonna lose the fight. You're not in it anymore. Like, I get a lot of things happen in 1 minute. Between rounds is one minute, just 1 minute. A lot of shit happens. But if in 1 minute 9 times someone says they don't want to fight anymore, that's it, man. You don't want to fight anymore. You're marching the kid out there just to get beat up.
Yeah, from the outside looking in, you could tell 10 seconds into that, just reading his body language. That was the first thing he said. He was asking him to call. And here's the best part. Drysdale didn't even call the fucking fight. He had to wait.
He had to go to the ref and the commission.
Yeah, Drysdale didn't even call the fight.
Originally, Dana says that like he kind of questioned the kid's heart, and then a day later, he basically said the opposite, that maybe he's just not ready. And it's like it's a shame because Drysdale might have done more harm than you realize, because by making this whole thing play out this way, if Drysdale would have just called it after that round, maybe that kid gets a shot to come back. Maybe Dana White brings him back. But when you have this whole thing where now you're basically putting on the kid like the kid doesn't have heart. I shouldn't call him a kid. He's 25 years old. But now you're putting it like he doesn't want to fight. He doesn't have heart. Now maybe they don't bring that guy back. It's the same result. The fight ends after that round, but the way it played out might change the whole trajectory of this kid's career, and just bad cornering.
The kid's in the spotlight. Dana said the second time that who are we, as anybody other than him, not Dana, but Roshoff or
Roshkov. We keep talking about these guys with names that are so hard to pronounce.
Roshkov.
I would love it if like a John Smith made news or something, so we could talk about somebody easy without like a super difficult name. But
Bill Jones. We can just rename these people. But Dana White said, who are we, anybody other than that kid, who are we to question his decision? And I agree with that. But I also see the side of it that people are arguing that you don't really know the relationship between coach and fighters. I mean, you were a fighter. You talked before about, your relationship with Anthony. But the relationship between a coach and fighter is...
Well, I saw someone linked to a quote about Drysdale specifically saying that this kid does not need to be pushed. This kid does not need that extra motivation. And then I clicked off the page and I couldn't find that quote again. And Googling, I couldn't find that quote. So it could be a fake news quote, but yeah, you don't know the relationship. You don't know the relationship between coach and fighter unless you're in the room with those guys every single day.
And if that is the case, where this kid doesn't need to be pushed and he's highly motivated and it gets to that point in a fight, I'm sure that's uncharted territory for both of them.
Like I said, it could change the trajectory of this kid's career, but I think ultimately the right thing happened and the fight was stopped, and whether Drysdale made it stop or the commission made it stop, it didn't keep going.
Yeah.
That's great. I like the fact that we're seeing more and more corner audio come out, and I'm sure that's a side effect of there being
no one else is in the arena. Yeah.
But I like that we're seeing this because maybe more and more corner fuzziness is going to start to come out, and maybe we can tighten the ship a little bit on some of these corners.
They're definitely under the microscope a little bit more. And it's absolutely because of COVID, but I don't know if you saw a couple weeks ago on ESPN, Deshaun Jackson was saying that they should mic up players if there's not going to be any fans in the stand.
I'm all for it.
So am I, but this is just how else they're looking for things to fill the gaps with, to fill in the gaps. So, let's put a little bit more of the emphasis on what happens in the corners between rounds, since you can clearly hear and clearly see what's going on in there now. So, I get it.
Yeah, I'm all for more, like it's not the right term, but there's no better term, like behind the scenes. Like I'm all for more corner audio, more mic'd up players at hockey games. Like I don't need a cheering fan and a loud crowd to get hyped for a fight. I get more hyped hearing like little bits of strategy, what the coaches are calling, and seeing. I like to see what fighter is listening most directly to the coach. Like that's all fun parts of the fight.
Right, and it's crazy to think how much TV time is dedicated to random shots in the stands. Right? If you think about it, and it's not just in MMA, but in all sports. and how much
Yeah.
time from that broadcast is just random shots of the audience or random shots of the fans. It's crazy. So there's
Hey, we got 1 minute in between rounds. What should we do? Should we listen to the highest level coaches in the world instruct their fighters? Nah, just pan over to that guy yelling "Just bleed" over and over and over.
Yeah, but now their options are kind of limited. There's a janitor over there with full PPE gear on. He's in a hazmat suit pushing a broom in the dark corner.
The real question is, why can't this guy wait to start his job until after the fights? Why is he over there now? Did you see Darren Till, who I love Darren Till, made a new Instagram account and a website for the sole purpose of trolling Mike Perry and calling him a
Yeah,
bum?
I think that we can all agree. Like, there's something wrong with Mike Perry, right?
Yeah, he's missing a few IQ points.
He's he's a psychopath. He apparently got. Did you see on Instagram? He got into a fight or something. He was all cut up. Did you see this video?
No.
He's supposed to fight in like a week.
Yeah.
He's fighting Mickey Gall.
Yeah, on Saturday.
He posts this fight and he's got cuts all over his head, and his knuckles are all bloodied up. And he just said the fight's still on. It's like, bro, how the fuck? What the fuck happened?
Do you know Mike Perry is not going to be a guy who his corner is ever going to have to convince him to go back out and fight some more?
Well,
like, he's always just going to be ready to go.
Well. Speaking of his corner, did you hear who's in his corner?
Yeah, his wife, and that's
no, his girlfriend. His girlfriend.
Right, so Mike Perry was dating a girl who was in his corner, and then they broke up, and then he got back with her.
No,
he got married to somebody else, and then
he's gonna. Mike Perry. Just skip this part. If Mike Perry, if you're listening, he got together with. He was married to some chick, and then they either separated, but now he's got a new girl, and I don't think she has any MMA experience or anything. But she's going to corner him. She's going to be the only person in his corner. I think he left Jackson Winklejohn.
It can't be worse than the dude who was in the corner for Diego Sanchez the last couple fights, who also had.
No, it can be. No, it can be.
I don't know. You might be doing actual harm when you think you have like traditional martial arts experience, and that's good enough.
No, this is the worst. If it goes down, hopefully they don't fucking let it go down. Yeah. But if this goes down,
I mean, you're supposed to be licensed as a corner, so hopefully the athletic commission has a little bit of sense.
Hopefully somebody steps the fuck in, but
we'll see.
Yeah, if those two ever got around each other, Darren Till and Mike Perry, if they were within an arm's reach of each other, it would be.
Well, do you remember the video when it was before Darren Till's title shot, where he and Mike Perry like bumped into each other on the street?
Yep.
And Mike Perry told him he wanted to go spar, and Darren Till thought he wanted to go to a fucking spa.
A spa.
Dude,
yeah.
I love Darren Till. Darren Till is hilarious to me. I really, really hope he can climb back to the top of the ladder, get a title shot, and win a title, because
wildly entertaining. He's a great fighter. He's better at 185 than he was at 170. And the UFC is lucky that they didn't fucking destroy his career by rushing him to a title shot. But it seems like he's rebounded. And that fight with Gastelum, showed what he was made of. He's good. He's going to be good at 85.
I agree. So. All right, so we do have some fights this weekend. So let's just real quick. We're talking about Mike Perry, so we might as well do the picks. Mike Perry, Mickey Gall. Who do you got?
Mickey Gall.
All right, I'm going to go Mike Perry. Okay. I'm going to go Mike Perry. I think Mike Perry's, even with questionable cornering, I think Mike Perry will get it done. And then main event is Dustin Poirier and Dan Hooker.
Yeah, Dustin Poirier is going to take that one.
I don't know, dude. Dan Hooker is legit. He's a good fucking fighter.
Poirier's only loss in his last however many fights is from Khabib.
Yeah, I mean
right?
This is two guys who are very, very good fighters, and this is a fight. I think it's flying under the radar a little bit because this has got big implications at 155. I always tend to go towards the Poirier's had his shots. He's been in the game a long time.
Yeah.
I kind of want Dan Hooker to win because I want a new up-and-comer to get a boost. So I'm going to pick Mike Perry. I'm going to pick Dan Hooker.
Mickey Gall and Dustin Poirier. So
Okay.
this is going to be the opportunity for the mailman to separate us in the standings.
You can chalk it
Because
up, Patty.
tell the mailman to chalk it up, and obviously I'll be 2-0 and you'll be 0-2.
All right. Well, what's going to probably happen is we're going to split and we're going to remain tied for the official standings.
Yeah, I can see that happen.
Guys, thanks for tuning in tonight. Don't forget to follow our show on Instagram at that_jiu-jitsu_podcast. You can follow me at M_Callahan106.
You can follow me at Justin Lesko, and you can also find the full video version of every episode we do on YouTube by just searching for That Jiu Jitsu Podcast. Thanks so much for watching, guys. We'll see you next time. I was supposed to say thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.